well, in private. Welcome, everyone. I'm the old Cavuto. And if historian Doug Wead is right, the president could pick something up from his predecessors, like the telephone. Doug, you're arguing that a lot of his predecessors tried to diffuse crises by talking personally to their critics, right?
That's right. It used to be the art of the presidency, the art of the deal. I mean, can you imagine Lyndon Johnson not talking to anybody? That was his great skill set. That's why you got elected president. They used to respect the separation of powers. They needed Congress. They had no media coverage to protect them. Look at Ronald Reagan, Neil. He was one of the great communicators as president, and he would leverage the American public to phone their senator. Yet even Ronald Reagan would sit down with Tip O'Neill and spin an Irish yarn.
Oh yeah, he wouldn't just phone him; he'd have him at the White House residence, and then they'd be drinking with him. But Reagan was very big in saying, "I don't want to humiliate the other guy. I don't want to humiliate the other side." And famous as well as for saying, "I'd rather 80% of the loaf than no loaf at all." In other words, not trying to lead with the other guy with egg on their face. Here, it seems to be beyond that.
It does, and not just Reagan, Bill Clinton. I mean, you'd have to go all the way back to Eisenhower. The reason Eisenhower was elected president was because here was a man, wasn't the greatest strategist, wasn't the greatest general, but he could get the French and the British and the American prima donna generals to all work together. And that's what a president, that's why we elect men president.
No, you're right. But Doug, you're quite right. I was thinking of John Kennedy during the 13-day Cuban Missile Crisis, and a lot of Republicans were chafing at being kept out of the loop. And we know in hindsight now, Kennedy was calling them individually and together to just say, you're going to have to bear with me here. Here's what we're working on, and trying to beg their patience in the middle of what was a global crisis. And it by and large worked, but he was not keeping them out of the loop. He was explaining why he was going about it the way he was. Very different today.
Very different. But I think what's happening here, Ara Parseghian said, if a play works, send it in again until they can stop it. And in this case, President Obama, he says they're not cooperating, they're not working with me, and as long as half of the American public buy that and there's no accountability, no one closes the loop, he's getting away with it.
Though, Doug, you've reminded me that it's a big thing to get a call from the President of the United States, whether he's popular at the time or not popular, and if he tells you on the phone, look, can we just chill on this for a little bit, or can you hold off on that press conference? Now, LBJ would hold him off with reminders. I've got these curious little stories about you, Senator. And then all of a sudden, that nasty press conference disappeared. Now, I'm not saying you have to be that, tit for tat, but couldn't this president save himself a lot of grief if he just headed off a conflict at the pass and talked to the guy?
Yes, something very deeply emotional is going on, in my humble opinion. Maybe the president's hurt. He's poking the bear right now. He doesn't have to do this. You're right. He's leaving a lot on the table, a lot that he could accomplish if he'd just pick up the phone.
All right. Regardless of the phone, even at the internet now. All right, Doug, thank you very, very much. Doug Wead. Well, it is not just Republicans the president has to worry about.